Welcome back to another exciting and transformative wealth lesson presented by D.R.S. Hakim. Whether you're joining us for the first time or you've been following this series from the beginning, we're honored to have you with us. These lessons are based on the principles found in D.R.S. Hakim's transformative wealth-empowering manuscripts and are designed to help you transform your behavior, strengthen your attitude, and develop the qualities necessary to earn, manage, multiply, and preserve lasting wealth. Before we turn today's lesson over to D.R.S. Hakim, I'd like to thank our viewers from around the world for the many thoughtful questions you've been sending us. We truly appreciate your participation, and your questions continue to inspire many of these discussions. Today's featured questions come from Carlos in Bogota, Colombia, Amina in Lagos, Nigeria, and Daniel in Auckland, New Zealand. D.R.S. Hakim will answer each of these questions at the conclusion of today's lesson, so be sure to stay with us until the conclusion. Question 1. Carlos asks, D.R.S. Hakim, after watching your lesson on self-discipline, I realized I usually begin strong but struggle to remain disciplined after a few weeks. How do I become more consistent instead of constantly starting over? Question 2. Amina asks, you explained that self-discipline is choosing principles over emotions. What should I do on the days when I simply don't feel motivated to continue working toward my financial goals? Question 3. Daniel asks, can someone who has lacked self-discipline for many years still retrain their brain, heart, and gut to become disciplined, or is it too late to change? With that, I'll turn today's lesson over to D.R.S. Hakim.
Thank you, Sarah, for that warm introduction, and thank you to everyone joining us from around the world. I appreciate your continued support and your thoughtful questions. It is encouraging to know that people from different countries, cultures, and backgrounds are taking these principles seriously and applying them in their own lives. Before we begin today's lesson, let us briefly reflect on what we learned during our previous discussion on self-discipline. We discovered that self-discipline is the willingness to choose principles over temporary emotions. We also learned that wealth is not created merely by having good intentions or ambitious dreams. Rather, lasting wealth is built by individuals who repeatedly make wise decisions, even when those decisions require sacrifice, patience, or delayed gratification. Today, I would like to take that discussion one step further, because self-discipline, while essential, is only the beginning. A person may exercise discipline for a single day, a single week, or even a single month. However, if that discipline is not sustained through consistent action, the benefits will eventually disappear. This brings us to one of the most important principles of success, the dynamics of consistency. Consistency is the bridge between good intentions and meaningful results. It transforms isolated acts of discipline into habits, habits into character, and character into a life of purpose and prosperity. Without consistency, even the greatest plans remain unfinished. With consistency, even small efforts can produce extraordinary outcomes over time. Many people mistakenly believe that successful individuals possess unusual talents or extraordinary abilities that others simply do not have. While talent can certainly be helpful, it is rarely the deciding factor. History repeatedly demonstrates that people who consistently practice ordinary disciplines often surpass individuals with exceptional talent who lack persistence. The marketplace does not reward occasional excellence nearly as often as it rewards dependable excellence. Consider a business owner who opens the doors only when he feels motivated. Some mornings he arrives on time, while other mornings he decides to stay home because he is tired or discouraged. Customers quickly lose confidence because they never know what to expect. Compare that with another business owner who consistently opens on time, treats every customer with respect, continually improves the quality of service, and fulfills every commitment with integrity. The marketplace consistently rewards excellence built on reliability, dependability, and the consistent fulfillment of expectations. Over time, that consistency builds trust, and trust becomes one of the most valuable assets any business can possess. The same principle applies to personal finances. Imagine two individuals who earn identical incomes. One spends impulsively whenever money becomes available, saving only when it feels convenient. The other consistently sets aside a portion of every paycheck, regardless of whether the amount seems large or small. 5, 10, or 20 years later, the difference between these two individuals will likely be remarkable. The difference was not created by a single financial decision, but by thousands of consistent choices made over many years. This principle extends beyond finances into every area of life. Healthy marriages are strengthened through consistent expressions of kindness, respect, honesty, and forgiveness. Strong families are built through consistent guidance, encouragement, and meaningful time together. Businesses flourish through consistent service, innovation, and reliability. Even our spiritual development depends upon consistently practicing what we know to be true rather than acting only when we feel inspired. One of the greatest obstacles to consistency is the mistaken belief that every day must feel exciting or extraordinary. In reality, most of life is built during ordinary days. It is the repeated decisions that seem insignificant at the moment that gradually shape our future. Reading 10 pages of a valuable book each day may not appear impressive today, but after 1 year, you will have completed numerous books and gained knowledge that can permanently change your thinking. Saving a modest amount of money each week may seem insignificant at first, but consistent saving develops not only financial resources, but also financial discipline. That is why I often remind my students that success is rarely the result of dramatic moments. Success is usually the product of ordinary actions performed with extraordinary consistency. People often admire the visible rewards while overlooking the invisible habits that produce them. They see the successful entrepreneur, but they do not see the countless mornings spent studying, planning, solving problems, and serving customers with excellence. They notice the accomplished investor, but fail to recognize the years of disciplined saving, careful research, and patient decision-making that preceded financial success. Every worthwhile achievement follows the same pattern. There is no shortcut around consistency, because consistency gradually transforms who we are. Each constructive action strengthens the next, making disciplined behavior increasingly natural. Likewise, each careless decision increases the likelihood of future carelessness. Our habits are constantly shaping us, whether we recognize it or not. This understanding brings us back to one of the foundational principles we have discussed throughout this series. True consistency becomes far more attainable when your cranial brain, your heart, and your gut brain are working together in harmony. Your cranial brain provides knowledge, reason, and sound judgment. Your heart gives meaning to your goals and influences your values and convictions. Your gut provides courage, determination, and decisive action. When these three systems are aligned, internal conflict decreases, and disciplined behavior becomes much easier to sustain. Instead of constantly debating whether you should do the right thing, your entire being begins moving in the same direction. Unfortunately, many people experience the opposite. Their cranial brain understands the importance of saving money, but their emotions crave immediate gratification. Their heart brain desires financial security, but fear prevents them from taking the necessary steps. Their gut brain senses an opportunity, yet doubt keeps them from acting. This internal conflict often results in inconsistency. One day they are enthusiastic, and the next day they abandon the very goals they claimed were most important. Lasting success requires bringing these three systems into agreement so that your thoughts, emotions, and actions support rather than oppose one another. Likewise, consistency requires us to eliminate the influence of NATs, or negative acidic toxins. NATs rarely announce themselves in dramatic ways. More often, they whisper subtle excuses. You can start tomorrow. Missing one day will not matter. You deserve to postpone this responsibility. These thoughts seem harmless in isolation, but when accepted repeatedly, they become destructive habits. Before long, procrastination begins to feel normal, inconsistency becomes routine, and opportunities quietly disappear. Instead, we must nourish our 3 intellectual command centers with positive essential nutrients, or PENs. When a gnat whispers, you have plenty of time. A pen reminds us that today's decisions shape tomorrow's opportunities. When a gnat says, you are not capable, a pen responds, the 10,000-mile journey begins with the first step. When a gnat encourages excuses, a pen encourages responsibility. These positive truths strengthen disciplined thinking and reinforce consistent action, allowing us to continue moving forward even when progress seems slow. Allow me to share a principle that I hope you will remember long after today's lesson has ended. Extraordinary wealth is rarely built through extraordinary opportunities. More often, it is built through ordinary disciplines practiced with extraordinary consistency. That statement is worth reflecting upon because many people spend their lives searching for one life-changing opportunity while neglecting the countless small opportunities that present themselves every day. They hope for a major promotion, a successful investment, or an unexpected financial breakthrough, yet they overlook the simple disciplines that prepare them to recognize and manage those opportunities when they finally arrive. Consider an individual who dreams of owning a successful business. If that individual cannot consistently arrive on time for work, consistently honor commitments, consistently manage personal finances, or consistently treat people with respect, what evidence exists that he or she is prepared to manage a larger responsibility? Success is not merely entrusted to desire, it is entrusted to demonstrated responsibility. Before your finances increase, your capacity to manage those finances must increase as well. The same principle applies to learning. Reading one paragraph of the best book ever written may not immediately transform your life. Listening to one educational lesson may not produce dramatic results overnight. However, consistent learning gradually changes the way you think, the questions you ask, the decisions you make, and ultimately the results you achieve. Your external circumstances often begin changing only after your internal patterns have changed. This is one of the reasons I continually emphasize the importance of retraining the brain, the heart, and the gut. Many people attempt to change their external behavior while neglecting the internal systems that produce that behavior. They force themselves to act differently for a few days, but because their thinking, emotions, and instincts remain unchanged, they eventually return to familiar habits. Genuine transformation begins within and gradually expresses itself through consistent action. Wealth, wisdom, character, and influence are all built in much the same way, one consistent action at a time. Imagine attempting to construct a magnificent building while laying only one brick every few weeks. The vision may be inspiring, but the progress will be painfully slow. Now imagine laying one brick every single day without interruption. Although each day's work appears small, the structure steadily rises until everyone can see what consistency has quietly accomplished. Unfortunately, many people abandon worthwhile goals because they become discouraged by slow progress. They expect immediate results from efforts that naturally require time. A farmer does not plant seeds today and expect a harvest tomorrow. The farmer understands that cultivation, watering, patience, and consistency are all necessary before the harvest appears. Likewise, every worthwhile investment in yourself requires time before the results become visible. Do not become discouraged simply because your progress seems gradual. Slow progress that continues consistently is infinitely more valuable than rapid progress that quickly comes to an end. Every disciplined action is another investment in the person you are becoming. I also encourage you to measure success differently. Too often, people ask, how much money did I make this week? While that question has value, there are other questions that may be even more important. Ask yourself, did I become more disciplined this week? Did I improve my habits? Did I eliminate another negative acidic toxin? Did I strengthen another positive essential nutrient? Did I make decisions that my future self will appreciate? When those questions are answered positively, financial progress often follows naturally because your behavior has improved. Remember that consistency is contagious. Children observe consistent parents. Employees observe consistent leaders. Customers observe consistent businesses. Communities observe consistent integrity. People are naturally drawn toward individuals whose actions reliably reflect their principles. Your consistency not only shapes your own future, but it also influences the confidence and trust that others place in you. There will undoubtedly be days when you become tired, discouraged, or disappointed. Every successful individual experiences such moments. The difference is not the absence of difficulty, but the decision to continue despite difficulty. Consistency does not require perfection. It requires perseverance. If you stumble, learn from the experience, regain your footing, and continue moving forward. Never allow one mistake to become an excuse for abandoning your destination. Remember, your future is determined by what you consistently practice, not what you occasionally accomplish. Before we conclude, I would like you to honestly evaluate your daily routine. What behaviors are you repeating every day? Are they moving you closer to becoming the person you desire to become? Or are they quietly leading you in another direction? Now, let us answer the thoughtful questions that were submitted by our viewers from around the world. Carlos, thank you for such an honest question, because many people quietly struggle with the very same challenge. The first thing I would encourage you to understand is that consistency is not built upon motivation. It is built upon commitment. Motivation is an emotion, and emotions naturally rise and fall. If your behavior depends upon how you feel each morning, your progress will always fluctuate with your emotions. Instead, build your life upon principles. Make the decision that you will continue doing what is right, whether you feel inspired or not. That is where genuine self-discipline begins. This is also where triadic alignment becomes extremely important. Your cranial brain understands the importance of remaining consistent because it recognizes the long-term benefits. Your heart brain must learn to value those benefits more than temporary comfort or convenience. Finally, your gut brain must develop the courage to act, even when your emotions are urging you to stop. When your brain, heart, and gut are aligned around the same purpose, consistency becomes much easier because your entire being is moving in one direction instead of fighting against itself. You must also pay attention to the negative acidic toxins, or NATs, that quietly attempt to interrupt your progress. Thoughts such as, "I'll start again next week," "Missing today won't matter," or "I've already failed, so I might as well quit," slowly weaken discipline if they are accepted as truth. Replace those NATs with positive essential nutrients, or PENs. Tell yourself, every disciplined decision strengthens my future. Progress is more important than perfection. And every day I remain consistent, I become the person I am striving to become. Carlos, remember that consistency is not about never falling down. It is about faithfully getting back up every single time. Every time you choose to continue, you strengthen your character. And strong character is one of the greatest foundations upon which lasting wealth is built. Amina, thank you for asking such an important question, because every successful person, without exception, has experienced days when motivation was nowhere to be found. One of the greatest misconceptions about success is the belief that successful individuals are always inspired, enthusiastic, and excited about their work. The truth is quite the opposite. Many of the most successful people continue working even on the days when they feel tired, discouraged, or emotionally drained. They understand that motivation is temporary, but principles are permanent. If your behavior depends upon your emotions, your progress will rise and fall with every circumstance you encounter. However, when your behavior is governed by principles, you continue moving forward regardless of how you feel. This is where triadic alignment becomes so valuable. Your cranial brain understands the long-term benefits of disciplined behavior and reminds you why you began the journey in the first place. Your heart must remain emotionally committed to your purpose, even when immediate results are not visible. Finally, your gut must provide the courage and determination to take action, despite discomfort, uncertainty, or fatigue. When your brain, heart, and gut are working together in harmony, you no longer rely upon emotions to determine your actions. Instead, your actions are governed by conviction, wisdom, and purpose. I have often said that successful people do not become successful because they always feel like doing the work. They become successful because they continue doing the work long after the excitement has faded. Some of your greatest progress will occur on the days when no one is watching, when you receive no recognition, and when your efforts seem to produce little immediate reward. Those are the days that strengthen your character and prepare you for greater opportunities. Remember, Amina, emotions are wonderful servants, but they make poor leaders. Allow your principles to lead your emotions rather than allowing your emotions to lead your principles. When you faithfully continue making wise decisions day after day, you develop the habits, the character, and the resilience necessary to earn, manage, multiply, and preserve lasting wealth. Daniel, I appreciate your question because I know there are many people watching today who are quietly wondering the very same thing. Let me encourage you with this truth. As long as you have life, you have the opportunity to change. Your past may explain where you are today, but it does not have to determine where you will be tomorrow. Every disciplined individual was once undisciplined in one area of life. Every financially successful person once had lessons to learn. Growth begins the moment you decide that your future will no longer be controlled by your past decisions. Retraining your brain, heart, and gut is not something that happens in a single day. It is a gradual process of replacing old patterns with new ones. Your cranial brain must be continually educated with sound knowledge and truthful principles. Your heart must gradually learn to value long-term purpose more than temporary pleasure. Your gut must develop the confidence to repeatedly act upon those principles until disciplined behavior becomes natural. This is why I emphasize triadic alignment so often. When these three systems begin working together instead of opposing one another, transformation becomes not only possible, but sustainable. You must also recognize that years of negative thinking usually leave behind years of negative acidic toxins. Perhaps you have repeatedly told yourself, "I've always been this way. I just can't change. Successful people are simply different from me." Or, "I've failed too many times to succeed." Daniel, those are not truths. They are gnats that quietly imprison human potential. Replace every one of those thoughts with positive, essential nutrients. Say to yourself, "Every day I am retraining my brain, my heart, and my gut. Every wise decision strengthens my future. My past has prepared me to make better choices today. And with discipline, consistency, prayer, meditation, and patience, I can become the person I was created to be." A single disciplined decision may seem insignificant today, but thousands of disciplined decisions repeated over time have the power to transform your character, your relationships, your business, and ultimately your financial future. Retraining your cranial brain, your heart, and your gut is a lifelong process. As you consistently eliminate negative acidic toxins, replace them with positive essential nutrients, and align your thoughts, emotions, and actions, you gradually become the person you are striving to become. Never allow your past to convince you that your future cannot be different. Remember to choose principles over emotions. Eliminate gnats and adopt pens. Align your three intellectual command centers. And lastly, make extraordinary consistency part of your personality. As we conclude today's lesson, I encourage you not to allow these principles to remain merely ideas. Choose one area of your life this week where you can practice greater consistency and begin applying what you've learned today. Remember, your future is not determined by what you do occasionally, but by what you faithfully do day after day. Small, consistent improvements, repeated over time, have the power to produce extraordinary results. If today's lesson has been beneficial to you, I encourage you to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who may also benefit from these principles. Your support enables us to continue reaching individuals around the world who are committed to transforming their behavior, strengthening their character, and building lasting wealth. We would also love to hear from you. If you have a question about today's lesson or any of the principles we've discussed throughout this series, please send your questions to our email address listed in the description below, or leave them in the comments section. Each week, We select questions from viewers around the world, and your question may be featured in an upcoming wealth lesson. Thank you for being part of this growing community of individuals committed to transforming their behavior, attitude, and financial future. Until next time, live long, maintain high standards, perform the best deeds, and continue to prosper.
Thank you for watching. We hope today's lesson has encouraged you to apply these timeless wealth-building principles in your own life. To gain a broader understanding of the principles we've discussed throughout this series, we encourage you to invest in your future transformation by securing a copy of each of D.R.S. Hakim's wealth-empowering and transformative manuscripts. Visit our online bookstore at retrainyourbrainforsuccess.com. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. There is much more to discover, and we look forward to seeing you in our next exciting wealth lesson. And remember, as D.R.S. Hakim has often stated, procrastination is the enemy of success.